Welcome back to another video. My name is Kyle, and I suck at budgeting. Today is a different video. This is not a budgeting video. This is not a finance video. This is a life video. Um, I've been talking about the struggles that I've been going through and being open about them. And I'm going to be a little bit more open and talk about the sorts of things that are going on. And because I've talked to a lot of people about this stuff, and it's not just me feeling this. And I thought that we could open the lines of communication and talk a little bit more about it. And I've got some notes over here, so when you see me glancing over here, it's because I got notes. And um, yeah, it's not scripted, but it's just kind of things that I want to hit on. So I don't know where this is going to go. So I hope you're along for a ride. If you're not interested, we'll see you in a couple days for the first paycheck of the month. If you want to stick around, thanks. Appreciate it. So we're going to start with something that has always bothered me ever since I started working. And I really had a hard time putting it into words until my last job. And I realized in my last job that there are two kinds of people in the world when it comes to work. There are the people that work to live and the people that live to work. And my last job, I worked with a lot of people who live to work. They were in the office at 6 in the morning and they left at 8 at night. They were just like, that's all they did was come to work every day. And it didn't, I had a hard time understanding, and still do to a certain degree, the mentality that was there to work like that. Especially for what we did. Now, there are careers that I can understand that sort of level of dedication and reward for doing the job. We shipped spoons, plastic spoons from China to New York so that places could buy them and sell them. I did not and still don't understand the level of commitment to that at all. But these people every single day were there at 6 in the morning till 8 at night, and they would leave work and still work. And it just, to this day, I don't understand it. I'm very different. I work to live. I work so I can do things like build those servers over there because they're fun to do and do other things. The unfortunate thing, I think, is that because I was talking to someone else about this, and there are some people who think that those people, the people like me, are lazy, and I don't think that that's the case, because I think that if you were around me for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm not a lazy person. When it comes to my job, I work circles around every single person I work with every single day. And despite not necessarily enjoying what I do, I still do it and work harder than most people at it. And I think that comes from one of my first jobs, which was working in a hardware store. I worked at a place called Carp's Hardware, which unfortunately I found out closed recently. It was a family-owned hardware store. It was around almost 100 years when I worked there. But I learned things like plumbing and electric, and we had a home brew shop in the back, so I learned about that. I shipped home brewing supplies all over the world. In fact, one of my first beers was a beer made by a guy by the name of Bill Breidenbach, who made this wheat beer that was so good. It, you know, it's probably the reason I don't drink beer to this day, because when you have one of his beers that was so meticulously made and cared for, it every other beer tastes like it's made with dirty dishwater. His stuff was just so good. Anyway, but it was one of those old school hardware stores where had the old wood floors, and I was named forklift at one point because when the skids of concrete and blacktop sealer and all those heavy things came, I was the one that would unload all of that. usually by myself. In the summer, in the winter, it didn't matter. You know, I was doing it. We had a tin roof on the ceiling, I remember, and I was sweeping that out in the summer. It was 120 degrees in the attic, most days because of the tin roof. But we had retail stuff up there, and it couldn't get dirty and have dust on it, so we swept it out quite frequently. You know, but because of that job, I developed a work ethic that a lot of people don't understand, I think. And I take that to my job every day. And despite not necessarily enjoying what I do, I still carry that work ethic with me. For those that don't know, I'm in cybersecurity, and one of the reasons I think that I don't enjoy what I do, it's not that I don't enjoy it, because I do enjoy IT and technology and the way things are moving to a certain degree. But I heard a stat the other day that 1 in 4 people will be hacked or scammed. Um, and in fact, most of you listening to this are probably involved in the latest breach where Social Security numbers were leaked. I forget the exact number, but it was a ridiculous amount of Social Security numbers and information that was leaked. And you're probably affected by it. And part of what I do every day is to try and make that number, that 1 in 4 number, smaller. You know, make sure that less people are affected by it. But at the same time, it's not something that I think is a necessary. Well, it's because of the way we're moving, it's a necessary thing. But ideally, we shouldn't need that. I don't think. If we lived in an ideal world, situation, um, we should be using technology for other reasons instead of hacking and stealing. And the unfortunate thing is that there is, I mean, you could even argue that there is, stealing that is legal, I guess. The fact that, companies like Google and Amazon and Apple and Facebook and TikTok and all of these other, Instagram is another one, they're part of Facebook, but the amount of information that they scrape off of us and sell to advertisers is staggering. It's a ridiculous amount of money that they make by essentially stealing us. And it's weird to think of it that way, but that's what's happening. And it's one of those things that we have to deal with in this world that, I think in an ideal world we don't have to deal with, but we're not living in that ideal world. Um the unfortunate thing is with AI becoming more prevalent, these scams and these hacks are going to get more sophisticated. They're going to become more prevalent. Um, yes, AI will help in preventing some of them, but um, AI is also going to be used to make them even more prevalent, unfortunately. Um, Sorry, just there's a lot of them on my mind to get out and kind of getting back to work. Doing a job that I don't necessarily enjoy every day. Um, Coming home is and having the time to do stuff after a job, after doing a day's job, I feel exhausted and drained, and it's difficult for me to do anything else most days. And there's so much that I want to do. Like I'd love to be out doing like kayak fishing and overlanding and doing more things in the garden, but like it's hard because those things cost money. And in order to do those things, I need to do the job. And I've been doing this job. I've been in IT for 20 years, and trying to move into a different career at this point would probably involve a fairly hefty pay cut. Um, and that's kind of why I've been in this like emergency mode where I'm throwing money at the Jeep and getting ready to throw money at the house so I can get this down to a point where financially I don't have to be throwing money at that stuff as much. Um, but I mean, I really kind of have, I don't know that FOMO is the right term, the fear of missing out, but there's just so much that I want to do, but it's hard, because when I get home, I don't want to do anything. On the weekends, it's like I don't want to do anything. I sit there and dread going back to work. And that's what I've been struggling with. That's the sort of thing that I feel is weighing me down. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just to kind of change topics again because one of the things I'm also learning about myself, and I knew this for a while, but I kind of have ADHD. I think to a certain degree we all do, but it's funny how going back to the whole technology thing and how technology is bad. Um, as I'm starting to realize the ADHD stuff, like YouTube's been starting to feed me videos. Sorry, hang on, I'm gonna fix my lights. Um, YouTube's been starting to feed me videos about ADHD. And like I said, like I knew I had it, to a certain degree, and um, but it's like I got fed a video today that was like, and I have done no research on ADHD recently, nothing. But a video popped up on my YouTube feed that was, how do you make your house more ADHD friendly? And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and I started watching the video. I was like, I do a lot of these things already. It's interesting. Anyway, getting back to this, but the fear of missing out on these things, like all these things that I want to do. I have a lot of hobbies, and I'd love to spend more time doing those things. But they cost money, and I have to be able to fund those things, and that's why I work. Like getting back to the whole live to work versus work to live. So yeah. Another thing I was talking about to a friend of mine is returning to the past. And this is, I do a podcast with my friend CJ, and this is something I've brought up in several episodes of our podcast. We talk a lot about music, but also life in general. And, I've mentioned several times that, I miss some of the old stuff that I used to do, and I don't know why this one popped into my head months ago, but like the idea of making a tie-dye shirt. Like I remember as a kid, like we would do that every year in elementary school, you know. And then the weird one that I had the other day, this is a very random one, but it's been really hot here in Ohio the last couple weeks, upper 90s. And I remember when I was a kid, like we didn't have air conditioning. And, you know, so much of my childhood was spent like in the basement because it was cooler there. I had my Nintendo down there, my Sega Genesis down there, and um, I remember coming home from the stores, letting the dogs out and going, I want to turn the air conditioning off and sit in the basement because that's what I used to do. And it kind of like hit me that like so much of what I'm going through mentally is trying to return back to that simple time. I've talked a lot about the garden that I've been building out here. It's a simple thing, growing fruits and vegetables and stuff. Bringing back to that simple time, you know. Um, that's that's kind of where I'm finding myself is as great as this IT technology thing is, I'm missing the simpler times. And um we have we have kind of, I don't want to say created this ourselves, but I mean we have. We designed the 5-day work week. We designed, the fact that we need to have currency and the ability, the needs to trade goods and services, that sort of thing. So I don't know. I mean, ideally, I'd like to have more time to do stuff, I guess. And yeah.
The comforting part is that the Germans have a term for what you're feeling. Weltschmerz. It means the depression that arises from comparing the world as it is to a hypothetical, idealized world.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper.
You're welcome, Dr. Hofstadter.
Okay.
With all that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back to our regular budgeting nonsense in a couple weeks. I mean, YNAB, it's a great thing about technology. It's a really great piece of software, and so it's not all bad. But yeah. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you all soon, and see you soon for the next video. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.